how gross my tools are. Hi there! Today I'm going to show you how to take a small investment of your time and use it to lengthen and extend the lifetime of your tools so that you get the most mileage out of them as possible. And really you only need a few simple items, most of them you probably have at your house already. So the first is that you're going to need a wire brush or a putty knife, both if you have it, that's great. Also you're going to need some old towels or rags. You're going to need a lubricating spray. And then you're also going to need totally brain fart. And then you're going to need a little bit of dish soap. I just like to use an unscented mild dish soap. That's perfect here. And finally, you're going to need an oil. And we need something that is a food grade oil because ultimately it's going to go into the soil, which seeps into the vegetables and the fruits that you're going to be eating. So you do want something that's edible. However, it doesn't have to be your super expensive organic walnut oil either. Just regular vegetable oil or canola oil will do. Now I have to admit, I'm behind here. The best time to be doing this would be at the end of your growing season when you're getting ready to store everything before the cold weather sets in. But as I say, better late than never. So we're going to go ahead and break this down into 4 easy steps for you. The first one is soaking the tools. The second one is scrubbing them. And here, before the third step, if you know how to sharpen blades, this would be the great time to do it. And I know that it takes more work than just simply filing a blade down, so that's why I haven't included it in this video. If I knew how to do it well, I would include it in the video. But like I said, if you know how to do it, more power to you. Now is the time when you want to sharpen the blades. The third step is that you're going to oil them. And then finally, you're all done. You store them away until the next growing season. And that's all there is to it. If you like what you're watching so far, feel free to give it a like or hit the subscribe now button. Okay, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. Let's get to work. Okie dokie. So I have all my well-loved and well-used garden tools here. And I have all of the materials and supplies I told you about ready and at hand. And I put some newspaper down. This is just very easy to clean up and you can recycle it when you're done. I have a bucket here filled with warm-ish water. If you don't have a bucket, you can just put the stopper in your sink and use a sink instead. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the dish soap, just mild unscented dish soap. I'm going to add it to the water. For this soap in particular, it's about like 1 to 10 ratio soap to water. It's not an exact science, so don't sweat it too much, but you know, we'll just give it a few squirts-ish or so. Okay, that's good. Now what I'm going to do is you will see there's a little bit of extra dirt on here just to make your life easier. You can take your wire brush and knock it off a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect, just getting off a little bit of the extra dirt. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tools and I'm going to plop them in this bucket here. And I'm going to let them soak for about 30 minutes or so. Alright, so it's been about 30 or so minutes. Got a little laundry in, fed the dog. And we're coming back now to let me move this a little bit closer so you can see our tools that have been soaking. And what's nice about letting them soak is that it really softens up any of the caked on sap or the dirt that are on your tools. So if you were to scrub this off now, which we will in a second here, you're going to see that everything comes off. Look, I can even do it with my finger a little bit. It just makes your life easier. And that's all. That's what we're about here, right? So let's take a look. So I've got my wire brush. Just going to go along and give it a good scrub. Set that one aside. These ones weren't too bad, my little pruners here. And for little nooks and crannies, that's where your putty knife is going to come in handy here. so maybe can get in some areas where you wouldn't normally be able to get in with just the wire brush. So it's nice to have both if you got it. Those aside, and we've got one more, don't we? Yeah. Save this one for last so it could get a little extra soaking time in. These have a lot of rust on them because it's been a few years since I've done this. Should have done it, you know, in theory at least once a year, but you know, real life happens. Alright, looking a lot better. And you'll notice here that on these pair of shears or secateurs, there's some rust here. I don't know how well you can see that in the video, but trust me, there is. So I'll put this in the list of materials in the description of this video. I will include this. I didn't say this before, but having some steel wool or some sandpaper around would also be helpful. And our goal here is to remove some of the old rust that has gotten on these blades. So I will keep doing this until the blades are nice and clean again. This part comes out, so I'm just gonna do this separately here. All right, so now we have all of our, I'm not gonna set them in the dirt, but I've got all of our garden tools here that have been freshly scrubbed and cleaned, and now I'm just gonna give them a good rinse with some clean water, and we'll be back. Okay, so now I have washed and rinsed my garden tools, and this is where the old towels and rags come in handy. I'm going to use them to dry them off really well. And you want to make sure that you get them nice and dry because otherwise they're just going to rust again, and that defeats the whole purpose of everything you just did. So really make sure you get into all the crevices. And you know, it's not like everyone wakes up and is like, oh, I just can't wait to clean my garden tools today. You know? So just, you know, put on your favorite podcast, put on your favorite album or whatever, and you can actually make it somewhat enjoyable, I think. Where is that springy part? There we go. Alright, last one. You look better already. Alright, so my tools now are nice and dry, and now is the time that we're going to oil them. And my vegetable oil came in this like giant container, so what I did is I actually poured some into a smaller container, and you can really see there's only maybe like 2 to maybe 3 teaspoons in here, and honestly that's probably going to be too much. So you really don't need that much at all. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a smaller rag here. So I'm just going to dip a little bit in the oil, and I'm going to start giving these a light rub with the oil. And this oil will also help to prevent any future rust from forming. So in the coming years, hopefully you won't have to do as much work. Take a little more oil. Make sure things like this where the parts move, you want to make sure that you really get in there too. And tools that have a wooden handle, this is now also a good time to go in with the same rag that you're using and oil, and just again rub the handle too, and that'll help restore the wood. A little more oil here. So I know I said before that you wanted to use food grade oil, stuff that you would eat yourself because it's going to go into the soil and everything, and I do agree with that. However, there's little tiny crevices in here that I'm just never going to be able to get into with just using a rag and oil. So because lubricating sprays have this tiny nozzle, they're going to do a much better job of getting in there. So I do use this, although I use it sparingly. I'm not going to use it on the whole thing, just in certain parts, like, I don't know if you can see here, I'll point with my finger, this part here, because, you know, it has movement there. So I would just give it a light spray. On the other side too. The hinges, even down there in the crevice. I'm not even going to do it at all for the trowel here. Doesn't need it. But here, I'm definitely going to wipe off the excess when I'm done here. This one, I don't know, this one I think is okay. I don't think I need to spray that one at all. Alright, so I'm going to use the non-oily bit of my towel here, and I'm just going to go back and, you know, I'm going to take off all the excess here. And these lubricating sprays will also help rust from forming again too, along with the oil. I didn't do that one, that's right. You don't have to go crazy with it, because if a little is in there, it's actually good. If it remains. Okay. So, a little bit more off there. Now, I can put this springy part back on. Great, perfect. And there you have it. We now have our garden tools. Don't they look so much better? And your last and final step is storing them. So they're great to hang up at a pegboard in your basement. For today, I'm just going to use this tote, and I'm going to store them downstairs and then bring them out when I need them in the springtime. And that's it. And now your tools are ready to go when you are. So I have a video coming up right now. You should be able to see that on your screen. Click it if you're looking to start a garden and you want some extra help. All right, see you again soon. Thanks, bye.